I'm working today with a group of kids from Newham, where I used to teach. We're studying poems from the first cluster of the poems from other cultures and traditions. We'll be looking to bring out the musicality of the poems and to have some kind of experiential approach to it. What's fascinating about limbo is the link between the people on the slave ship and the Catholic notion of limbo, where babies go when they've not been baptised before death. Look at your numbers. Put your numbers down. Remember your numbers. Right, who were the first man and women on Earth? Adam and Eve. Which one of them committed the first sin, the original sin? Eve. It was Eve. Be careful of ladies. The issue with this is, because we are all, every single person in this room is actually meant to be a direct descendant of Adam and Eve, we are all stained from the moment of our conception with our father and our mother's sin. So according to the Catholic Church, the moment you are conceived in your mother's womb, you're a sinner. The only way that you can ascend to the kingdom of heaven is to have these sins washed away through baptism, through what the Catholics describe as the gift of baptism. Issue: what happens to little babies who are born and then die before they're baptised? Yes?
They go to limbo.
Go to limbo. Sorry, what's your name, mate?
Niall.
Niall. What's limbo, Niall?
Limbo is in between heaven and earth.
OK, and who lives there?
People that haven't been baptised.
What do we think of the idea of limbo, which lasts for all eternity?
Not fair.
It's not. It doesn't seem fair, does it? Where's Brooke? Stand up. Over there. Now, hurry up. Right, call you out by number. 20. Up. Now. 21. 15. 17. Move over here. You and you. Up. All of you guys, over there, now, quickly. As tight as possible. You're not tight enough. Move in. Move up. Tighter, tighter to each other. OK, could you move backwards and move backwards? Right, this is the testimony of a guy called Reverend Walsh. He discovered a load of slaves on a slave ship. The heat of these places was so horrid and was so great and the odour so offensive that it was quite impossible to enter them, even had there been room. There were 517 creatures of all ages and sexes, some children, some adults, some old men and women, all in a state of total nudity, scrambling out together to taste the luxury of a little fresh air and water. They came swarming up like bees from the aperture of a hive, till the whole deck was crowded to suffocation from stern to stern. Right, we're going to do a little exercise. On the drum and the whip crack, if your number is 1, you shout out 1. The next whip crack, if your number is 2, you shout out 2. As you're doing this, we're doing this only so that you can remember the order. Remember the person who says the number before you.
1,
2,
3.
This is the kind of atmosphere you're going to have on the slave ships. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's filthy, it's dirty, and you're dying. Boil it down to one word to express how you would feel on that slave ship. Right, we're going to go through from 1 through to 27 with the drums. Brooke, what's your word?
Miserable.
Miserable. Every beat, you're going to say the word miserable. Who's number 2?
Me.
What's your name, sir?
Ramon.
Ramon. What's your word?
Sick.
With every beat from when Brooke starts, so we go 1, Brooke goes miserable. 2, Ramon goes sick. But you still say miserable. Do you get me? Yeah. Right, let's see if it works. Ready?
Miserable.
Sick.
Miserable.
Yes.
Sick.
Yes.
Sick.
How do the guys on the slave ships, how are they like the babies in limbo?
It's not fair because it's not up to them.
It's not fair. Why else is it like it?
They weren't given a choice.
Yes, there was no choice. There's no volition for the slaves or for the babies in limbo. Anybody else?
Limbo is a place of uncertainty, so the slaves do not know where they're going, so therefore they're unaware of where they're going.
That's a fantastically brilliant answer. Yeah. The babies don't know when it's going to end, where they're going, what's happening. The slaves are just in a black hole of, of cess and filth. The key is the uncertainty. Right, you can come back. Right, can I have Niall and Ramon, please, standing here, either side of this stick? So if you just hold it. Right, do you know what limbo dance is? It's a celebratory dance. They do it on beaches, and it's kind of a tourist attraction, where they go back underneath a stick. I did well there. Go back underneath the stick. If you touch the stick with any part of your body, then you're automatically out. Let's have 5 guys, please. Take it away. Go. Easy peasy. Well done. No, he touched it. Well done. Sit down. Oh! It's actually the way that the slaves came onto the slave ships. Okay? They couldn't walk on. In order to get in the gap, they had to bend their knees like that and go through. It was called the understick dance. And it actually portrays the slaves going into the hold of the slave ship. The deck and the floor were very close together. The title of the dance, limbo, comes from a derivation of limber, as in they had to limber up to actually get loose enough to get in there. Right, we're going to have the same 5 guys, please, over there. Right, everybody else, could you take a copy of the poem Limbo, which you've been given? Right, this is how we're going to read it out. Try and get it as the chant on a slave ship. OK? Go. And limbo stick is a silence in front of me. Limbo. Limbo like me. Limbo. Limbo like me. Long dark night is a silence in front of me. Limbo. Limbo like me. Stick hit sound and the ship like it ready. Stick hit sound and the dark still steady. Limbo. Limbo like me. Long dark deck and the water surrounding me. Long dark deck and the silence is over me. Limbo. Limbo like me. Stick is the whip and the dark deck is slavery. Stick is the whip and the dark deck is slavery. Limbo. Limbo like me. Drumstick knock and the darkness is over me. Knees spread wide and the water is hiding. Limbo. Limbo like me. Knees spread wide and the dark ground is under me. Down. 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 And the drummer is calling me. Limbo. Limbo like me. Sun coming up and the drummers are praising me. Out of the dark and the dumb gods are raising me up. 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 And the music is saving me. Hot. Slow. Step. On the burning ground. Well done. Sit down. Do that. While you're doing it, see if you can put a letter sound with your voice. What sound is this with your voice? That's good. Cool. Mark, could you do us some rim clicks, please? What letter sound do you think is that? It's a K. So what sound does that make? K, 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 K. This poem is very percussive. It's one of the reasons we got the drums. It's got loads of K sounds in it. K, 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 K. If there's loads of Ks in it, if there's loads of consonants in it, then you could describe a poem as being percussive. For instance, long duck deck, long duck deck, K, K, K. You can get the K sound in 3 ways. Either a C, or a K, or actually a C and a K together, which is a consonant blend. When you've got lots and lots of consonant blends in a poem, lots and lots of the same sound, then that is called consonance. And I'm going to give you a proper definition of it. Consonance is a repetition of consonants in words stressed in the same place, but whose vowels differs. Also a kind of inverted alliteration in which final consonants, rather than initial ones, repeat in nearby words. What do you know by the term alliteration? Yes, Alan.
First, letters in a word repeat.
Yeah, and alliteration is always consonants. So, for instance, B would be Billy Beaver's bum in Fulham Broadway. B, 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 B. Alliteration is consonants right at the front of it. Consonants, where consonants differs, is its consonant blends and consonant sounds right at the back of it. Why would the poet use percussive sounds, a collection of percussive sounds? Yes?
Most slaves were African, and Africa was famous for its drums.
OK, that's a very, very good answer. Yeah? Africa is quite famous for drums, and the slaves were African. Anybody else want to go anywhere? No.
I'm guessing that the chains and stuff dragging on the floor would make a sort of clicky sound.
It's fantastic. Really original. Yes.
As they were doing the limbo dance, the shackles rattling would go with the words of the poem.
Well, there would certainly be a rhythmic thing, wouldn't there? If you're going onto a ship like this and you're all chained together, what's going to happen? You're going to get a what? You're going to get a beat. Yeah, there's definitely a drum-orientated thing. Could you circle all the I's up to line 22, please? Count them as you're circling.
40.
Yeah, in truth, I've got 40-ish here. We'll read through it again. This time, we all do the limbo, limbo like me, but any other k that you come across, you go k. Let's do a first run through. And limbo, stick is the silence in front of me. Limbo, limbo, limbo like me. Limbo, limbo like me. Long dark night is the silence in front of me. Limbo, limbo like me. Stick hit sound and the ship like it ready. Stick hit sound and the duck still steady. Limbo, limbo like me. Long duck deck and the water surrounding me. Long. Well done. And the silence is over me. Limbo, limbo like me. Stick is the whip and the is slavery. Stick is the whip and the is slavery. Limbo. Limbo like me. Well done, drumstick knock, that's really good. Now this time we're going to go through it again, and every time you see an I, you'll go E, 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 okay? And limbo stick is a silence in front of me, limbo, limbo like me, limbo, limbo like me. What are we beginning to notice about the number of I's in it? There are shed loads of I's in this poem. Stick, hit, sound, and the ship like it ready. Why are there so many I's in this poem? Well, think about the sound of it. E, E, E. Is that an I sound? E.
Pain. As they're being transported, they're being beaten, and when they're getting into the ship, they're being a lot of pain. So they're E. That's the kind of noise that they'll be making.
OK, so every time they get the whip on the back, it's E. Yes,
It could be the chains creaking.
Fantastic, yeah. The point is that poets choose the words that they put on a poem. They don't just go, I'll have one of those, one of those, one of those. This will have been a conscious decision to have a poem smacked full of k sounds and I sounds. Why has the poet got this, what is called in poetic terms, it's like a chorus in musical terms. In poetic terms, it's a repeated refrain. Why has the poet got this stupid limbo, limbo, limbo like me in there? Yeah.
It's kind of like a repetition, like for you to get it straight into your head, like to know what it's all about.
Yeah, the repetition bears into your brain. Is that a good enough reason, though? Yes. No.
Slaves just had to keep going underneath the barrier, keep them doing limbo all the time to get in.
So give us that again, because that was so good.
Like the slaves had to keep on doing limbo all the time when they were trying to get into the slave ship because the barrier was so low. They probably had to sing like limbo, limbo, limbo.
So you're saying that they would actually have to have a slave song to get the rhythm together?
Yeah, or they would like time it wrong and they'd probably hit the head on the bar or something.
OK, so it was all timing actually getting into the ship. Anybody else? Why is this stupid chorus here? Have you got an idea?
Well, the slaves were repeatedly going in and in and in, so that's why the chorus is repeatedly saying limbo, limbo.
It's an enormously intelligent idea, OK? The whole lives are going to be one of utter monotony. There's, yeah, the whole process of loading them in, 571 of them, is monotonous and repetitious. So the chorus is monotonous and repetitious.
And because they're just going in, they're not coming out. And if like anyone that comes out is dead or something, so like the chorus is going to be the same throughout every day.
Yeah, because if you think about limbo, what was the first thing we were talking about? Limbo with the place where the babies die? Can you somehow compare those? Yes.
The state of limbo is everlasting, and the state of slavery, they had no end, so the repetition emphasises the eternal state.
That really is quite a fantastic comment. The state of slavery seemed to be everlasting. Limbo is everlasting. OK, Julian, could I ask you for your rendition of Limbo, please?
And limbo stick is the silence in front of me. Limbo. Limbo like me, limbo. Limbo like me. Long dark night is the silence in front of me. Limbo, limbo like me. Stick hits sound and the ship like it ready. Stick hits sound and the dark still steady. Limbo, limbo like me. Long dark deck and the water surrounding me. Long dark deck and the silence is over me. Limbo, limbo like me. Stick is the whip and the dark deck is slavery. Stick is the whip and the dark deck is slavery. Limbo, limbo like me. Drumstick knock and the darkness is over me. Knees spread wide and the water is hiding. Limbo, limbo like me. Knees spread wide and the dark ground is under me. Down, down, down. And the drummer is calling me. Limbo, limbo like me. Sun coming up and the drummers are praising me. Out of the dark and the dumb gods are raising me. Up, up. And the music is saving me. Hot, slow step on the burning ground.
For me, Night of the Scorpion is really a feminist poem. All the men in it are absolutely, completely and utterly useless. Who rules the world, men or women, and why?
No one. So you can't raise it.
Right, OK, where have you got to? Julian's group. Who rules the world, men or women, and why?
Me and Ash are obviously going to say women, and Julian and Ramon are obviously going to say men.
Julian, what was your and Ramon's idea? Again.
I was saying, like, with animals, there's always a dominant male. So it's like, as like they said, humans evolved from apes, so then it's like there's still going to be the dominance there with humans.
Very good answer. Guys at the back.
We think women because they're the ones that give birth.
Good answer. Yeah.
Men, because like they control all the most powerful positions in the world, like president and prime minister and stuff like that.
Yeah. Sorry, what's your name?
Michaela.
Michaela, what's your answer?
I think that in our generation, everything is equal between men and women because we all have the same education and the same chances. But I think the older generations, there's men that are higher than women.
So we can kind of agree that historically, men have been in charge. What's that? Anybody give me a definition for that? What is a verse?
A group of lines of poetry.
OK, a group of lines of poetry. Anybody got a different one? Alan?
It's not necessarily repeated, because that's a chorus.
Fantastic, well done. Aisha, have you got something to add?
Also, it's like paragraphs in a poem.
That's brilliant. That's exactly what I've got written on my piece of paper. But they're all fantastic. The point, it's not repeated generally, a verse. It's a group of lines, and it's laid out like a paragraph for a poem. Night of the Scorpion. Would you like to be stung by one of these? No. Could you take the Night of the Scorpion poem, please, and your scissors? There are 2 verses in this. I want you to cut those 2 verses out, please. So you've got the second verse is somehow separate from the first verse. Right, once you've done that, put the first verse, you like your scales, put the first verse on your left hand, if you can balance it. Like that, with your palm up, the first verse on your left hand. Then get the second verse and put it on your right hand, like that. What do we notice?
One is heavier.
One is slightly heavier. Let's prove it. There's a few more words. Let's hope these scales work. First verse, there's second verse down there. First verse. Right, the first verse is all about the men's actions. The second verse is the only time it focuses on anything that the woman says. Get a piece of plain paper and take it and fold it so that you've got a fold down here. The title on the top of the left-hand side is What the Men Do. And guess what the title on the right-hand side is? What the Woman Does. Well done. And in your groups, go through the poem and record every male action on the left-hand side and every female action, the key here is action, what she does, on the right-hand side. Go.
Put in the middle peasants because it refers to...
That's all it is.
That's all it is. She's revealing her feminine emotion.
After 20 hours of stealing the woman, it went away.
Aftab, could you stand up? just read out individually what the men did when this woman was bitten by a scorpion?
They chanted the name of God to paralyze the scorpion.
Is this a strategy that is likely to work?
No.
Do scorpions listen to people praying? I'm not sure they do. What does the men do next?
They click their tongues.
They click their tongues. Is this going to help the poor woman writhing in agony with the poison pulsing through her system? Poison don't listen to her. Next.
Make scorpion shadows using lanterns and candles.
These boys are really hot. His wife is dying and he makes scorpion shadows use... You know, it's really going to work. Thank you, Afdad. That was fantastic. What does the woman do? Well, she writes on the floor in agony.
She gets stung.
She gets stung. So she's the recipient of all this stuff. At the end, she thanks God that the scorpion stung her and not her kids. The poet's voice in this is an ironic voice. When the poet is talking about the men, he or she is taking a mickey. Can you think of a word to describe the one thing, the one active thing that the woman says? What quality does that show? Yes?
She shows selfless love for her children.
Absolute, complete, selfless love. She's been through the fires of bloody hell and she says she's glad because it didn't sting her kids. You know, that almost chokes me up, the power of love in that. You know, these men do not deserve a woman like that. Right, boys, could you highlight with a pencil the whole of line 9, which is buzzed the name of God 100 times, and all of line 17 apart from they Girls, can you circle they said on line 17? Right, all the stuff the boys have underlined is where basically the guy's actions are just based on complete superstition and foolishness. So in order to highlight that, as I'm reading through it, I want you to go hobba bobba 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 bobba. On a count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fantastic. Girls, whenever it comes to a they said, in the most outrageously sarcastic voice you can muster, come up with they said. Okay, all the girls together. 1, 2, 3, 4. They said. Right, let's read it. Ready with the hubba bubbas. May your suffering decrease the misfortunes of your next birth.
They said.
May the sum of evil balanced in this unreal world against the sum of good become diminished by your pain. May the poison purify your flesh of desire and your spirit of ambition.
They said.
And they sat around on the floor with my mother in the centre, the peace of understanding on each face. It's a fantastic piece of work, and this is a feminist poem. It's a poem that's ironic about men and men's actions and a way that men will blame women for their, for things that men have actually done to them. Who is the hero of this poem and why?
It was the mother. She
Yeah.
takes the whole of the scorpion sting and all the pain and everything, and at the end, all she says is she thanks God that her children were not stung, and it's her. She's happy that she's glad at the end of everything that she's taken a stung and not her children.
Yeah, that's heroic, man. Anybody else? Okay.
I think she's kind of happy that, because the children are still young, innit? And she's kind of happy that she's old and she went through all the pain, but not the children, because if they went through the pain, they might die from the sting.
You're right. The final question is, does the mother live?
Oh, no.
What would be the evidence for her living? Anyway?
I don't think that she's living, because I think the son or daughter who wrote it seems really angry about it, so I think she died.
Would it make any difference to the anger whether she lived or died?
Yes.
It would?
Because it didn't actually say her final words were thank God, but it said my mother only said, which leaves an uncertainty.
Fantastic, yeah. It doesn't say that after it. Yeah, it's positioned after it in the poem, but it doesn't say after she had lived through the endurance battle. It just says she only said. Now, she might have said that right at the beginning. So we don't know. It's ambiguous whether the woman survived. Okay, Aisha, could you stand up, please? And deliver your version of Night of the Scorpion.
I remember the night my mother was stung by a scorpion. 10 hours of steady rain had driven him to crawl beneath a sack of rice. Parting with his poison, flash of diabolic tail in the dark room. He risked the rain again. The pheasants came like swarms of flies and buzzed the name of God 100 times to paralyze the evil one. With candles and with lanterns, throwing giant scorpion shadows on the mud-baked walls. They searched for him. He was not found. They clicked their tongues with every movement that the scorpion made. His poison moved in the mother's blood. They said, "May he sit still." They said, "May the sins of your previous birth be burned away tonight." They said, "May your suffering decrease, the misfortunes of your next birth." They said, "May the sum of evil balanced in this unreal world against the sum of good become diminished by your pain. May the poison purify your flesh of desire and your spirit of ambition." They said, and they sat around, on the floor with my mother in the centre. The peace of understanding on each face. More candles, more lanterns, more neighbours, more insects, and the endless rain. My mother twisted through and through, groaning on a mat. My father, skeptic rationalist, trying every curse and blessing, powder, mixture, herb, and hybrid. He even poured a little paraffin upon the bitten toe and put a match to it. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. I watched the holy man perform his rites to tame the poison with an incantation. After 20 hours, it lost its sting. My mother only said, "Thank God, the scorpion picked on me and spared my children."